Good afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon, Jim.
Oh. Steady. You've got me again, I'm afraid. Just one admin point. This has been handed in. It looks like it's a laptop or a... Do you know whose it is? That's more important. Oh, well. Good. Oh, it's no good. Oh, well, you can have it back again then. Yeah, okay. Welcome to the very last session and last talk of the Amsat colloquium. I want to introduce Colin Watts, who's a member of BATC, and he's not used to being on the receiving end of cameras, I don't think, or the transmitting end of the camera. Oh, yes, he is. A shout from the back. Okay. Who's going to talk about HAMTV on the ISS. Over to you, Colin.
Right, thank you very much. Well, yes, normally I'm just looking into a camera rather than a load of faces, so this is a bit of a novelty. But yes, well, last year I was watching Murray's presentation actually, and discovered that the ISS was going to be flying over my house transmitting digital television pictures, and that's what I usually do is receive terrestrial ones. So I just had to have a go. Really, that was the thing. So I'll give a quick overview. I won't sort of repeat what Murray did last year, but just a quick overview for those that don't know. But HAMTV is, well, I think most people are familiar with the ARIS school contacts. We're on 2 meters, and this is to add video to that procedure. So the HAMTV or ham video transmitter was installed into the Columbus module this year, and those are the probably the most expensive patch antennas known to man. They cost an absolute fortune to get them up there, so an excellent job. There's 2 of those. So that's where the station would be operated from. There's the actual ham video transmitter itself. Seems to have changed the aspect ratio. It's a little longer than that, but that's okay. But yeah, there's HAMTV is the whole system, and ham video is the transmitter and the camera. So they seem to be interchangeable, these terms, but there we are. So it works on 2.4 gigahertz. There's 4 frequencies. It's DBBS-like signal. It's nearly DBBS, except that for some reason, which is unknown to me really, that all the tables that describe where all the packets should be going and this and the other seem to be absent from there. So it does give a normal receiver a bit of an issue in decoding, but there is a workaround. Symbol rate's quite low, 1.3 megasymbols per second and 2 megasymbols per second. FEC is always 1/2, and video pins 256, 257, which are the default SR systems values actually, and pretty much what most of us are using these days. And a couple of patch antennas and right-hand circular polarization, and 10 watts ERP, and a Canon camera. This is what lives on my wall forever. Is the frequencies and symbol rates, and so if you happen to be on the space station, you would know where to put these switches, which is frequencies down here and symbol rate here. So, but what happened on the first pass? They've only had video on twice. The rest of the time, they've had what they call blank transmissions, which is transmissions without the camera on. So it's very exciting, but it gives a lot of data and able to set the system up. The first time I tried to receive it, they went to configuration 3, I think, which I didn't have a clue what that was. So I chased it around for a bit, and I suddenly picked up a little bit of a signal as it disappeared over Germany. So what do we need to receive? This is quite, yes, it's a basic system, this really, and a fairly small footprint. It'll fit into the average garden, I would have thought. So that was actually used to receive HAMTV reception at Materia. Yes, that's right. So fortunately, we can get away with something a little less. And this is the recommended sort of setup, which All the information is on www.aris-eu.org, where all the HAMTV bulletins, this is where all the sort of information is up here, which I scan for all the time, really, to see if something new is happening. Information is a little sparse, or has been. It's getting a lot better now. But I assume the reasoning for that is because they probably make arrangements and then have to cancel them. And once you've done that about 10 times, they probably wait till the last minute before they release anything. So that's a sort of, so that's a 1.2 metre dish there, with a feed and a down converter, and then into a receiver. This is my setup, which is a 1.1 metre dish. It looks a lot bigger than it actually is, on that picture. As you can see, there's various hazards like garages and roofs and trees and such like. That tree in particular is a bit of a pain because the ISS normally approaches right behind that tree, or very often does. So I had to look around where I could plonk this thing, and it was there isn't anywhere that's actually a perfect spot in my garden. So I just thought, well, I'm having a go anyway, and that's and that's it. So there's a bit of clear sky, so I'll have a go at it. So that's, you can see at the previous picture, it was in a different configuration. I had to lower the centre of gravity a bit and add these counterbalance weights. So so that's that. That's my feed. That's my feed. That's my phone. That's my mobile phone, yeah. And that's just a simple helix. I'll come back to that actually. There's an S-band LMB on the end, so it's just a simple helix. That one worked the best actually, made out of PCB material, with the inner of Westflex 102 wrapped around a drain pipe. So it's all right. Let me. I'll just move my phone over here a minute. And just stay there. Right, that's the Mark II version, which didn't work as well actually. It was a bit of an experiment. I wasn't sure how good the radome was. The radome being this piece of a bottle that was cut off and glued on. So I was doing an experiment. This one was made out of enamelled copper wire with a solid bit of copper, because I did happen to have that. But the RTB sealant, which I put on there to stiffen it up a bit, because it's only, you're probably all familiar with these anyway, but there's only one solder joint on an end socket there, and so it does whip around a bit, so it looked like it was going to potentially fall off. The other one never has actually, it's been fine, and the radome stops it blowing around in the wind. But that sealant did mess up the match, unfortunately, so that'll have to be taken apart and done again. But fortunately they just plug into the end, so it's not too much of a problem. This is the this isn't the recommended rotator, or ASL rotator. The Yaesu ones work very well actually, but they were a bit pricey, and the other ones were twice as much, or 3 times as much in some cases. So I had to determine to have a go. I just searched the internet, and if you put in AO40 in there, you find a lot of useful information, as it's 13 stems right-hand circular. So that's where I got a lot of inspiration from. I just needed something. But in fact, the work of the other amateurs was quite good actually, because I'd seen bits of methods with bits of string and all sorts of things to turn things around. So I needed some method of reporting back the position, and I used these absolute rotary encoders made by DF1SR, which are very accurate actually. So those had to be shoehorned in there somehow. That's the azimuth rotator. It's a motor gearbox. Then that was the actual limit switches. Unfortunately, that had to come off the limit switches because to fit the encoder. I wanted the encoder right on the output shaft, but there wasn't room as the other one fitted in there. So I came up with this idea, which was some gears, a little bracket and some gears, and mounted that on there. And there's the elevation one next to it. Most of these pictures are just screenshots from a video. I mainly do video, I didn't have many actual pictures. Then the encoder needed some form of method of signaling it back. There's a pick on there with RS232 to get it back. Then we've got them all shoed on in there, just tested on the bench. And I used a VK5DJ beam controller. So he sells the blank board, so I bought a board off of him, as it seemed to fit the bill. So that's the output. That's mimicked on another slide in a minute. So in there we've just got, there isn't much in there really, but just a 12-volt power supply, real-time clock off an Arduino for 90 pence. And so this thing can run, it can look at the sun and the moon independently of any computer. It's quite accurate actually with the programs in there once you've put your locations in. And it's got there's up, down, left, right, and a brake. I haven't got the relay for the brake. So, but I did have some issues. The motors are 240 volt, which wasn't what I would have chosen, but that's what happened to be about. And switching that with the relay caused a bit of an issue. I used a lot of suppression. I did get it down to almost nothing, but not enough. So I had to, in the end I put solid state relays in with 0 voltage switching, which normally you'd use a different type for a motor, not the actual ones that cross over on the 0, but according to the Crydon datasheet, it would be probably okay. That is what it said, and it was, so that's all right. Right, and then this is the VK5 DJ beam control interface to the computer. You can see this is a test one because the elevation would never be more than 90 in this instance. So this tells me where the dish is pointing, azimuth elevation. And this is where this was actually tracking the ISS at the time. And you can set the clock on there, which is quite useful. Then I decided to use Orbitron. I'd never really done any of this before, so I had to sort of make it up as I went along and find out what other people were using. But I quite like Orbitron now. So that's interfaced to that other program. So there's the two together. Then we need a receiver. I say there is an issue using the standalone receiver. But what most people are using now is a Technotrend TT Budget S1600 or an S3200. This one's £20 cheaper and it's got a slightly more sensitive front end actually. So that's about £60, so that's not too bad at all. Then we need some software to run that. This is like a toy box to me, this website. It's a marvelous thing. So you can download version 5 of Tune, which is a specific version for the ISS, and that has the ability to put all those missing bits. It can actually put them all back in, and so you can actually resolve the picture. So that's without that, I don't think anyone would have got anything. So that's pretty good. So that's Jean-Pierre F6 DZP. He's done some really marvellous work, really. I say this is like there's the actual program running. It likes to run on Windows XP in actual fact. So it's quite simple to operate. It looks complicated, but not as complicated as the next slide. And so we've got on here, all you really need to do is set the symbol rate, one or the other, and then on version 5, all the right frequencies would be in here. Set that. Best to have just half FEC tick because it's not going to be anything else, so that slows it down. And then if you've got a down converter, then click that to power it. You can send signals over the web on another monitor. Save all the data that's coming in. All this data here is recorded every half a second if you click that, and then you can analyze it later, which is quite useful. I send this video over UDP to my Windows 8 machine and look at it on there, or anywhere else I want to. And I can record the transport stream directly from there. So we've got power RF, MER, which is like signal to noise really, signal to noise, and then the constellations. So when it starts off, these dots are all over the show, and then the joy of joys is when you see them all migrate to their corners. We spent hours looking at that, just willing the dots to move into a little spot really. And then you know you're on to a winner then. There is actually on the version 5 there's a button which is marked ISS, and you click that and it puts all the sort of tables back in. It's all rather clever. This is expert mode, which is generally used to impress people that visit the shack in the main, because they really like it. The only thing, don't touch anything here because you'll mess it up. But it is worthwhile. On mine, I need the baseband gain of 10 works very well. If you've got a lot of Wi-Fi interference, then AGC post Nyquist to 4 will improve. It just can recover a little bit quicker. But really, don't touch the rest because it will you'll end up reloading the program. But it does look pretty cool when it's going, and people are very impressed. They think you've sort of got like a little mini NASA station in there. So that's mainly when I use that. The other tool in there is actually a noise power measurement program, which is pretty handy. That's actually the sun noise that I received. I had to come down a little bit in frequency as I tweaked it up perfectly on someone's Wi-Fi signal. It transpired. So as the sun went down, and the signal was still there. So I had to make sure that was actually the sun. So that took a little while, but just coming down in frequency a bit worked well on that. There's also a spectrum analyzer program. It's fairly slow to update, but you can see it 2437, which is somewhere here. The Wi-Fi can be a bit of an issue, so it can be there. That's actually pretty good. At my house, it's horrendous. There's stuff all over the place. So down the bottom end, it's not too bad, and most people got better results down the bottom. So I built a septum feed because I thought a lot of it was coming in on the side, in actual fact. But I didn't get time to try that. So there we are. Also, that data that's recorded every 30 seconds. It's not exactly 30 seconds, but thereabouts. It's recorded in text format, and this to tune data reader will make a nice, pretty graph for you. And so you've got RF power here, and then the MER, as we call it, coming up here. So I could use a smaller dish by the side of this, because really an MER of 5 will give you a picture, and I've got 21 there, which is pretty good. What we look for is green. If you've got green, you've got sound and picture. If they've got the camera turned on, of course. Otherwise, it's just black. But in theory, it should have given me a picture. So I missed the first one, say, because I was on the wrong configuration. So I monitored 60 passes. I didn't sleep for about 6 weeks, I think. Just every single one, sometimes four a day, actually. So anything and everything that was in range, even if it wasn't range, I'd have a go at it. So, so that was a bit of fun. It allowed a little bit of fine tuning here and there. Try this, try that, sort of thing. So, but that worked very well. That did. So the other button on the left, if you have to tune monitor, then you can send it up on the internet and others can have a look. So this is an actual reception of the ISS, but the picture wasn't, because it was a blank transmission at this time. I photoshopped the picture in afterwards. It's my picture, but well, it was black. I thought, well, you need a picture, and I'd got that lovely picture, so I stuck that in there just to show what it would have looked like if they'd been going. So there we are. So the other place where most people will go, and those that are watching now are actually on BATC.TV. They're on live events looking, hello everybody, looking at us now. And the place to look there is ISS, and if there's any activity going on or anything, there's quite a number of stations that will be on there when something's actually going on.
Internet says hello back.
Yeah, all right. Thank you. So there we are. And that's four web streams, again from a video that I took. You can see that's off my XP computer. I had to tune running there black screen because it was a blank transmission. And there's four of us there. That's my one, which I've got a better picture of in a minute. There's Jean-Pierre F6DZP, IK1SLD in Italy, and Kaiser Italia, which is the manufacturer of the actual equipment. Oh, and they're only using a small dish here, actually. Just the standard 1.2. They did very well, and so did everyone else. So this is what you would do for a school's contact. As the path is fairly short, really, then it wouldn't be quite long enough. So the plan is to join several stations together. I cheated. Well, I didn't cheat. These people were doing it all part of the project, and I saw what they did. I managed to copy it using VLC, and added on my own web stream. I think, or is that? Yeah, that's one before. But on the final commissioning, I was given access to the login for that, and I actually did join in properly. So that's the sort of picture that was being done. A little bit of a cutaway of the bottom of the tune showing the MER constellations, error correction. There isn't any there, and then the VK, the antenna positioner, the positioner. It's interesting figures there. I hadn't really noticed those before, but and then a pretty picture of the IS over my house, more or less, and obviously this is data from showing the range, which is quite interesting. I achieved 1,300 kilometers range before it went over the wall, so that was the problem. John Pierre managed 2,000 kilometers, I think. He hasn't got a wall, so but he has got some trees. But no, excellent results. Really, far better. We didn't know if this was going to work at all, so it was. There was big joy in Italy. I remember that when they got the signal. That was fantastic. So the main stations are F6DZP, IK1SLD, and Kaiser Italia, and that's him again down there. And also, people were putting blank signal reports, and there's probably not exclusive, this list. There's VK6MJ, who was as crazy as me, was doing just as much staying up day and night. We used to chat on the BATC chat and exchange information. And the other stations there, they all got the blank signal reports, and quite a number of people posted things. But I don't know any other call signs. So then finally the first one came through, the one I missed, but I've seen the video, which is where I pinched this picture from, on 8th of April 2014. That's Mike Hopkins there. That gave great joy, that did. And then on the final commissioning day, I waited with bated breath, and then I was emailed just before to say, could I stream it on the internet? And which was a complicated procedure, actually, because I had to get it off of one computer via UDP into VLC player and then into flash meter encoder, which crashed the computer twice. So I wasn't too impressed. So I had all that going on, as well as waiting for this the signal to come through. And so my goal was to get maybe 5 or 6 seconds of video. If I could get a video, then I would consider it a success. So weeks had gone by, and I'd got brilliant data, but not a single picture, because they hadn't had the camera on. So this is what I received at my house.
Stood by Koichi.
That's going past the tree now.
Station America 2, you can start with the script, Koichi.
Okay, I will start the script now. Thank you, Lionel.
This was done in the manner of our school's contact, so it was like a simulated school the sort of questions that would be asked in a school's contact.
It's my privilege to proceed to the ham video transmitter's functional commissioning. I feel honored to inaugurate this new amateur radio educational facility, which will enhance space conversations between crew members and students. I congratulate ARIS for this acquisition, and I wish ham video long life and plenty of successful and fascinating school contacts. I have been asked to answer a series of questions, so let's start.
I was holding my breath at this stuff,
First
I can
question,
tell you.
is it noisy in Columbus? No, it is very quiet and comfortable to work in Columbus. Second question, is there a constant airflow that one can feel? Yes, we have intramodule and intermodule ventilation, and we can feel constant airflow in ISS. Third question, do you have a phone system aboard for internal communications? Yes, we have interphone system on board the ISS, and we can talk with our crewmates in different modules. Fourth question, if you knock on the wall in one module, can it be heard in another module? No, it will be very difficult to hear it in another module. Fifth question, can you turn around without touching anything? Would you please show us? It's very easy, I can show you. Sixth question, what kind of fire extinguisher do you have on board? We have three types of fire extinguishers. US fire extinguishers use carbon dioxide, and the Russian fire extinguishers use water and foam. Seventh question, how would a toy helicopter behave aboard the ISS? Since we're in a weightlessness environment, it will be keeping going up until it hits the ceiling or a wall. Eighth question, if you were to play cars, how would you keep the cars in place? We will need to use Velcro to keep the cars in place. Ninth question, do you experience static electricity effects? If so, are they different from what they are on Earth? Yes, we do, and it is similar to the static electricity on the ground. 10th question, is Konstantin Tsiolkovsky's photo still on the wall in the service module? Yes, in the service module, we have other photos like Yuri Gagarin and Sergei Korolev, in addition to Konstantin Tsiolkovsky. 11th question, if you had to show school children or students something special about microgravity, what would you show? Okay, with me I have a drink water bag, so I will show you a water bubble here. In zero gravity, it will become a sphere. Here you can see. There's a small air bubble inside of the water bubble. And I will let it flow and swallow it. Airborne.
Right. And there we are. So that... Right, so thanks for that. That was good. And then the other stations further down got the end of it, which was nearly the end actually. So that worked very well actually. I was very pleased with that. And then the latest, I had an email this week saying the blank transmissions were activated again on July the 22nd, and they will stay on until the 6th of August. So the blank transmissions are back on now in configuration 4, which we all know is 2.395 gigs, 2 megasymbols. So that's my presentation. Thank you. Thank you. Right.
Perfect timing. Thanks, Colin. I'm sure that you'll be happy to answer a few questions if we've got any. Any questions?
Oh dear.
Let's go for some.
I forgot about this bit.
Tuesday, there's a Iris contact planned with UK Space Camp. Do you know if there will be a video transmission with it?
I don't know, actually, no. I haven't heard any information. It's very thin on the ground. Ah.
It's a telebridge, isn't it? So
yeah.
So no video. Any other comments? Sorry, Kieran, I'm stealing your thunder.
The space camp, is it going to have anti-bridge? No, it's not. It's a telebridge from Tuesday. It's 14 or 1 meter.
Yeah.
And it's a telebridge from W6S SRJ.
Okay. Kieran is the Amsat Aris rep, so he.
Right.
So
okay.
you ought to be talking a bit. Really, so
Yeah.
I'll let you talk.
It's actually available, it's going to be webcast on the BATC stream.
Okay.
There's a specific Paris UK stream.
Okay. Any another question? There are quite a few.
Yeah, thanks for the talk, Colin. Probably I'm not the only one in the room who's got one of those old DVB-S standard, receivers from way back when, and some sort of LNB. Why is it that it's not? Why is it that you had to use a special receiver? I think you said there was a workaround to use a standard one.
There's not a workaround at the moment to use a standard one, but we expected any free-to-air DVB-S receiver to be able to work. But for some reason, the tables that should have been there, or should have been transmitted with it, are not actually there. I haven't had any proper explanation as why that is, because even on the recommended equipment, it shows just some fairly basic receivers. So the only way at this time is with the cards. Whether there's any plans to redo the firmware, I'm not sure. So I don't seem to get a lot of information through about that.
This is Graham. I can answer some of those questions. The project was done very quickly, particularly for an ESA project, but it was done very quickly. And some of the sort of normal reviews that would have been done that would have discovered that sort of issue before launch were there was not enough time. There are cards available. They're £35 or £27 cards for PCs. It's S1600 or S3200.
That's right, yes.
Are the correct types.
Yeah.
I do have some in stock if available for anybody who's really, really passionate and wants to get involved with it, because I bought some a year or so ago just in case.
That was a good price then, because they're 60 now.
Maybe that's what they were, I don't know. But I think one of the interesting challenges we've now got is how do we employ you or other people to be part of a team, either working for Amsat UK, not working for, but part of a team for representing Amsat UK or Aris UK or whatever, to provide ground stations when they do in Europe the HAMTV schools contacts. I think that's a challenge or an opportunity.
I think the ESA have purchased 5 sets of equipment, haven't they? I don't know where they're hiding, but Italy, and then fairly mobile, I believe. Whether they'll cross boundaries is something else. But
any other questions from the floor?
I think I'd just like to congratulate you on that, Colin. Right. Tremendous effort. I know you really worked a lot of hours. Must be the fastest downlink reported today, 2 megasymbols per second for 10 minutes or something.
Yes.
So well done. Lots of compliments off the internet. You got 72 viewers, so you did well.
Okay, thank you very much.
Any final questions while I walk up the front? Colin, that looks like it. Thanks very much indeed. It's obviously the beginning of a very exciting project.
Yes, absolutely.
We'll be following it, and perhaps you come back next year and give us an update.
Right. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Right, thank you.